President Donald Trump says the U.S. is getting pause for 5 days on planned strike against Iran's power plants and energy infrastructure after what he called a very good and productive conversation between Washington and Tehran, Iran's state leaders. For its part, the United States talks happening at all. Meanwhile, Brent crude is hovering around $100 a barrel, and the world's top energy watchdog says at least 40 the oil and gas assets across the Middle East have been severely or very severely damaged in the war, setting up a years-long rebuilding effort for U.S. and global energy companies. What is a 5-year pause when you buy it? I need to listen to it. Keep this in mind. The conflict has already crippled some of the world's most important energy infrastructure. What can 5 days of restraint actually change? Welcome to Business Insights Daily. I'm your host, Sisha. Trump ultimatum pause. Until this weekend, the trajectory looked very different. For days, President Donald Trump had publicly warned the U.S. is preparing to strike Iranian energy facilities, including power plants and export infrastructure, if Tehran did not allow the full reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. This choke went to nearly $20 million of the debt. And then, true social posts written largely in all caps, he said after 2 days of very good and productive conversation with Tehran, he had instructed the Pentagon to throw his phone, ending military strikes on Iranian power plants and energy sites for 5 days. This pause is explicitly conditional. It's a subject of successive ongoing meetings and discussions, and Trump has continued to warn the strikes remain on the table for Iran backtracks or if the strait isn't fully reopened. The Iranian media, however, publicly denies that any talks have taken place, even as fact-checked on the policy apparently continues to through interviews. So, the damage so to understand what's happening, we first have to look at what's already going on. The International Energy Agency chief Philip Bigelow said this week that more than 40 energy assets across the wide Middle Eastern countries have been severely or very severely damaged since the Iranian war began late last year. We're talking about oil fields, gas processing plants, refineries, LNG export terminals, and key pipelines, the backbone of the region's role in the global energy system. Vital great shocks during this war the combined impact of 2 major oil crises of the 1970s and Europe's 2022 gas crisis all put together. Which are the disruptions to violent and facilities is the worst the IEA was ever reported. Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz has been really hot, forcing tankers to wait in route to stay in port, and global LNG trade dropped sharply by roughly 20% as key terminals in the hubs are. In Qatar, for example, Iran strives to have a donation large Ras Laffan LNG complex, cutting export capacity by around 17% and wiping an estimated $20 billion in annual revenue, with repairs expected to take up to 5 years. Analysts say similar multimedia repair timelines are likely on other sites, especially those repeatedly are located in areas that remain unsafe for crews. Against the backdrop, oil prices are behaving like a tug of war. They create anxiety and harm. Brent crude, the global benchmark, is trading at $100 a barrel after spiking higher earlier in the conflict, and easing back when Trump signaled the strikes would be postponed. At one point, prices fell by as much as 14% in a single session. Market participants are trying to price 2 things at once: the very real physical damage to infrastructure and shippables that might take years to fully restore. On top of that, the possibility that, however federal, the U.S. and Iranian leaders might find a diplomatic offer that prevents even more of the glassings from being hit. The IEA has already released hundreds of millions of barrels in global emergency reserves to cushion the shock, and says that it stands ready to do more if needed. The U.S. separately has tapped into strategic petroleum reserve, used some sanctions on like producers, and temporarily loosened the rules of domestic oil transport to keep fuel flowing. Which brings us to the third question. Are we looking at a temporary spike that fades with the shooting tops, or a new normal or geopolitical risk in energy stays permanently high, even in so-called peacetime? Whatever happens in the next 5 days, the long tail of this conflict is already locked. U.S. oil and gas companies, which is where the easy are, as one way to split it, stealing for year-long when good persists. Even as if a ceasefire would magically declare tomorrow, damaged facilities can't be patched overnight. Sites need to be secured and created unexploded ordnance, specialized equipment from willing to keep it, and skilled crews need to be brought here, often under tight security insurance restraints. Some gold producers, like Qatar and the talking openly about a 4 to 5 year repair timeline for major LNG assets. And experts warn that similar projects in Iran, Iraq, and parts of the Gulf could just be as complex. The longer those assets stay pricing out time, the more pressure there is on prices, on alternative supplies in the U.S. shale patch, and on energy imported economies in the U.S. and in Asia. Several economists have compared the situation to a slow burn shock rather than a single dramatic event. Instead of a sudden embargo or one pipeline being cut, we're having dozens of critical nodes disrupted, prepared and potentially retargeted over the years. So, what does this all mean if you're running a business, managing a portfolio, or just trying to fill up your gas tank? For energy companies, capital spending is more likely towards tilting pardon infrastructure redundancy, dispersion, better defenses, not just extending cost. Insurance and financing for projects in conflict-adjacent regions could get more expensive and more conditional. U.S. producers may see opportunities to backlist some lost Middle Eastern supply, but it also feels political pressures around prices and environmental impacts. And for governments, there will be renewed debate about strategic reserves, diversification away from single choke points of the Strait of Hormuz, and how to balance energy security with climate goals. Countries that rely heavily on important LNG and oil, the HS especially, may double down on long-term contract and domestic alternatives. So, underlying all this is uncertainty. Even when facilities are rebuilt, companies and markets will know that they can be there. So let's return to 3 questions we started threading through the storm. Number 1, what does a 5-day pause really mean to you? In practical terms, it lies to all. For diplomats to test whether there's any real appetite for de-escalation, and for markets to exhale, at least temporarily without undoing the damage already done to physical assets. With this a de-escalation, or simply a timeout. The mixed message, Trump touting a very good and productive conversation, while Iranian media says nothing has happened, gives us uncertainty, suggesting that the underlying conflict is far from resolved, even if both sides have reached to avoid direct attack on Iranian energy grid right now. And is this new normal for energy risks? With 140 key assets passing normal, shipping to a vital chip that is disruptive, all the repair time measured in years. Many analysts believe that elevated geopolitical risk in energy markets could be with us for a long time, and well beyond this 5-year economy. So, as the headlines over the next few days focus on whether the strikes take paused or not, it may be worth watching a different set of numbers. How much oil actually moves through the Strait of Hormuz? How quickly damaged facilities can be brought even partially back online? Now sticking to that $100 price level turns out to be the rest of the year. Stay curious, stay on. My name is Shishel, and this is your Business Insight Studio. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.